Welcome to a different type of video. This is still going to be a sewing video, however this isn't sewing for my own personal use, this is sewing for my business. As you may or may not know, I have a business called Lillian Hope Designs selling handmade ballet skirts. I'm currently in the process of rebranding my entire business and making a website. One of the things that I want to do for my business is expand into other dancewear. After making my own tutu, thought, what if I did tutus as well? Now, tutus are incredibly hard to make and it takes a lot of customization and fitting the person to make sure it's the perfect tutu. The tutus that I make aren't stretch tutus. Stretch tutus are easier to fit because they have some stretch and some give to them. The tutus that I make are made from coutilles and satins which don't have as much stretch and it's harder to get the correct fit. To almost prepare going into more custom tutus, I had an idea to start making practice tutus that I can rent out and sell out to people. Tutus take a lot of time, even if I'm just making the skirt. I would actually argue that the skirt probably takes the longest as I have to hand pleat all of the tulle. With some of my money that I had set aside for my rebrand, I have bought some tulle and some coutille and some net that I can make a practice tutu. So this video is going to kind of be a help me design and make a new product for Lillian Hope. I want to take you along on the journey on what it takes to make a new product, show you the making process, and then also show you the final product and me try it on and seeing what it looks like. I have no idea whether this product is going to be successful or not, but that's the gamble you take with designing new products. First of all, I'm going to take you through the process of how I design a new product. I always start with my Pinterest feed. I scroll through Pinterest, try and find some photos of skirts I want to recreate. I then save these to my Pinterest board of Lillian Hope Designs, where I have all of my ideas for future potential products and inspiration of how I can photograph my products. This product idea was actually kind of on a whim. It was my birthday and I didn't know what to do, so I decided to go fabric shopping. Me and my boyfriend went to the fabric shop and I had some spare money. While I was looking around, I was thinking, I know I am making a new Lillian Hope website and I would love a new product to go on there. So I had to decide what would that new product be. Then I came across the beautiful rack of tulle. Imagine 20 to 30 different colours of tulle just calling out my name to be made into a beautiful tutu. I asked the fabric shop if they had coutille in stock because that's quite a specialist fabric that not many fabric shops have, and they did, which was a miracle. So my idea was settled and I decided that I was going to make a tutu. My next dilemma was deciding what colour should I make this tutu. So I got my boyfriend to help me lay out all of the tulles on the floor so I could look at them properly. I did exclude the weird colours like lime green and highlighter yellow because that wasn't the kind of vibe that I was going for. When I had all of these tulles laid out on the floor, I noticed that there's quite a lot of blues and purples. The last tutu I made was pink, and blue was the complete opposite end of the spectrum, so it would keep me interested whilst making it. I settled on 3 gorgeous blue colours because I wanted to go for an ombre. I had to decide which way round I wanted my ombre to go. The last tutu I made, my darkest colour was at the top and the lightest colour was at the bottom. I thought of doing this again, but I wanted the basque of the tutu to blend into the tutu skirt. I knew the basque fabric, which is the coutille, would have to be white, which meant my lightest colour had to be on the top of the tutu. That's when I thought, if I went from light on the top to dark on the bottom, would it create a beautiful ombre effect as the darker colour is more pigmented and would show through the lighter ones? So that is what I have decided to do. And that leaves us here, sat with all of my tulle. The colours I went for in the end are these 3 beautiful blues. I went for a really nice royal blue, which is going to be the bottom 3 layers, a really nice ice blue, which is going to be the middle 3 layers, and then this aqua pastel sort of blue, which will be the top 3 layers. As As well as that, I have all the other bits that I need. I have the couture and the hook and eye strips for the basque. These hook and eye strips are literally just a strip of fabric with hooks and eye closures already sewn on. It makes it really simple and easy to add them onto a tutu, and it also means that I can make the tutu adjustable by doing multiple rows of the hooks so that you can adjust the size. Then I have some net, some power mesh and some elastic for the panty. The power mesh will be the lining layer of the panty that goes next to the skin. If I have enough, this will also be the lining layer of the basque. The mesh or the net will be on the outside of the panty to make sure that it blends in with the bottom layers of tulle. Then the elastic, which is a royal blue colour to match the tulle, will go around the leg holes of the panty to make sure the fit is secure. Along with the pattern I used for my own tutu, I have absolutely everything I need to start sewing my practice tutu. With a new product, one of the things I've got to do is make sure that I time how long it's taken me to make the tutu. This is how I then work out the pricing of the tutu along with the cost of the fabric and the cost of my labour. This will show me whether this is profitable as a rented tutu or a tutu to sell, and how cheap or expensive I should sell it. One of the other things I had to do is work out how much tulle I had to cut out for each layer. On the pattern that I already have for a tutu, it has a cutting chart which has the width of each layer and how many widths you need to cut out. I have adjusted this slightly because when I was fabric shopping, I completely guessed how much tulle I needed per layer. I bought 8 meters of the longest one, 4 meters of the middle colour, and then 2 meters of the darkest colour as a guesstimate of how much I would need. The lightest and the middle colour I actually have too much tulle, but the darkest one I don't have enough. I only don't have enough by 22 centimeters, so after a little bit of adjusting I came up with a solution. The pattern that I use has 10 layers. Layers 6 and 7 are sewn together. These two colours would have been the dark blue tulle. But if I adjusted the pattern to only be 9 layers, which would eliminate 6 or 7, I would have enough tulle for all of the skirt. So with my adjustments, I have come up with a pattern for a 9-layer tutu. Now we are really ready to start cutting and making. A lot of the ways that I will be making this tutu are exactly the same as in my tutu making video. If you want a more in-depth tutorial of how I make a tutu, go check out that video. But for those of you who haven't watched that, right now I'm just cutting out the basque and the panty pattern pieces. This piece is the panty in the mesh. Now that I've cut everything out, I'm just having a little break and getting the footage that I've already filmed for the video onto my MacBook. So far, all the cutting out took 15 minutes, which is actually quite time effective. I am slightly procrastinating cutting out all the tulle because it just takes such a long time. I can't remember if last time I did it, I cut the tulle then pleated it or pleated it then cut it. While I sort out this footage, I'll have a little think and then get on to cutting the tulle. Now on to cutting all of this tulle. In reality, there has been a week between the last clip and this one because I have been putting off cutting this tulle for that long. This is honestly the most boring bit of the entire tutu, but it shouldn't take too long. But I'm just going to put some music on, enjoy myself, and cut all of these different layers of tulle. All of our layers of tulle are now cut out. That didn't actually take me as long as I thought. It only took me about 20-25 minutes, and I honestly thought it would take me close to an hour. Now I'm going to sew all of these bits together so I have one continuous strip for each layer, and then I'll get back to you all. I have now sewn all of these layers into continuous strips, so those individual pieces that I cut up for each individual layer are now sewn into one full strip that I can gather together. We have our 3 for the top layer in the longest lengths, We have our 3 for the middle layers in our medium lengths, and then we have our 3 teeny weeny ones for the bottom. The next thing I need to do is sew all of these layers onto the panty. In order to do this, you have to gather or pleat the entire length up to fit the width of the panty. I was going to pleat the top 3 layers, but it's definitely going to take more time, and I already know what the pleated tutu looks like. So for this tutu, I'm going to try gathering all of the layers and see how that turns out. To gather one of these up to the correct length, what I do is choose a really long stitch length on my sewing machine, and I also loosen the thread tension so the thread is really easy to pull and gather the fabric up. I'm going to go do this now and then hang all of these over my ballet bar so they're ready to pin onto the panty. And this is why you always do a practice. I just tested gathering up this bit of tulle and something is wrong with the machine because the thread snapped. I'm going to work out what that is and then get to gathering all of the rest of the tulle. And that worked! So I can get on to sewing the rest. I finally gathered all of the tulle together and I'm so pleased with how it's all starting to look. As you can see here, we have all of the layers of tulle. I'm just so pleased with how all of these have gathered together and they're looking really good. I love how you can definitely see the ombre of the darker colours through the lighter tulle, and it's just looking so good. Next thing that I need to do is sort out the panty. I'm going to start by drawing sewing lines onto one of the layers of tulle, and then I'm going to get this all pinned and sewed together. Now I've sewn the panty, the next thing that I need to do is sew all of the layers of tulle onto the panty. I'm not going to go too in depth with this because really it's just me pinning down 9 layers of tulle onto the panty and sewing it. I will put one clip of kind of how it's done for one layer and then just do like a quick run through of the rest. I actually forgot how I sewed tulle onto the panty. Did I start with the bottom layer or start with the top layer? So I had to go check out my old tutu making video and check what I did in that one. It's actually kind of useful having that video because it goes into depth of the entire making process, and I keep using it as almost like a video instruction booklet. Anyway, I'm gonna go sew that now and then I'll show you when I am done. and I have sewn all of the layers of tulle onto the panty. It's really big and fluffy. It's still got all the pins in, so it's kind of a bit of a weird shape, but you can see on this side the beautiful ombre. I absolutely love it, and I am so pleased with how this has turned out. The next thing that I actually have to do is sew the lining for the panty onto the panty. What I'm basically going to do is sew these two edges together, sew the bottoms together, and then insert the lining onto the tutu, and then it will make sure that the inside is nice and soft and won't rub on the skin. Once I've done that, I'll be able to put the elastic in for the leg casing, and then I am completely done the tutu skirt kind of bit. The only bit I have after that is the basque, which is fairly easy. I just need to attach it to the panty, attach the lining, fold it over, do the hooks and eyes, and then I am done. I'm going to do all of that, so I'm going to finish the panty, do the basque, probably have a little try on, and then I will catch up with you for the final step of this tutu making journey. I've just sewn the edges together, and I just had to show you how gorgeous it looks. I mean, look at that. It's just like a whole ball of like fluff, but honestly it looks absolutely stunning, and I can't wait for this to be done. This is me from the next day, because last night I was just really focused on getting everything sewn, and I didn't get many videos of me doing these kind of overviews of what I was doing. The next thing that I sewed, which you'll see in all of these clips, is the basque. I had a mishap with the basque, which was so typical. Literally right at the very end, as I was doing the last top stitch, something went wrong, and you'll see that in a minute. For now, here are all of the clips of me sewing the basque together. And this is where it all went wrong. Now, I didn't get any footage of me making this mistake or unpicking the mistake, because I was so stressed and annoyed that literally the last thing I was doing, it went wrong. But I do have this video that I sent my boyfriend of me trying to explain what happened, so I will insert that video now. I'm going to do a little visual representation of what happened. So basically, I am meant to be sewing that there, but what happened is instead of just sewing that, this, which is like the bottom layer, had got stuck there. But what I'm unpicking is net on net. Net is evil to unpick because it's so fragile, and also all of these stitch lines here, this is like the leg elastic, and all of these stitch lines are keeping all the tulle in place. And it was all caught up, so it's like, if I snip the wrong thing, this tutu is going to fall apart. And the thread was really small. Luckily it was white thread, so I could actually see it. But it was like, literally all of that, it was just like sandwiched together, which it shouldn't be. That's like flat and should be separate. And it was literally from there all the way around to there, because I realised about here, but then the only way out was to carry on to the end. So I was sewing like, this is wrong, I'm gonna have to unpick it in a minute, but I've done it now. So now I need to redo the top stitch. With all of that sorted though, I decided to have a quick break, and I got into some PJs and got some cake and carried on sewing. Everything I did next, these were the kind of finishing touches bits. I think at this point I was on about 8 hours, and the rest of all of this sewing only took me an extra hour. The next clips you'll see are me sewing the two ends of the tulle together, so it's a continuous circle, tacking the layers down very lightly with some thread because I want to keep the tutu nice and fluffy, and then sewing some final hooks and eyes on the top. You'll also notice that I have decided to cut the panty off. I just couldn't work out how to sew it onto the top, and I definitely could do it. I would just need to do it before I sewed all the tutu layers on, which I did think, but I just didn't do. So the easiest option was to cut the panty off and keep the panty layer as basically just an elastic casing. It still serves a purpose as casing the elastic, and it does mean that the tutu doesn't rub around the leg holes, which is definitely a plus, and I am glad I did it. So on to all the finishing touches. And that brings us to being done with the finished tutu here. It's currently hanging upside down because that's how I store my tutus overnight, but it is completely done. This is what it looks like if I hold it the right way up. I absolutely love how it looks, and it's so stunning and really, really fluffy. If you look at the underlayer, it has this beautiful ombre tulle, and I'm so glad I went from the darkest to the lightest at the top. Before we get on to the reveal, I just want to do a little quick summary of what's next. So all of the sewing in total took me 9 hours. There are some things that I would put as optionals on the listing, like the tacking or the lining. These would come in an extra cost, which I'll work out depending how long it took me to do that thing. This is definitely going to be a viable product. 9 hours isn't too bad, and I could definitely do that over the space of 2 days. To work out how much I sell this, I will times the amount of time that I spent on my minimum wage that I pay myself. I will then add on top the cost of materials, and that will be the minimum price I can sell it for. I then add profit onto it, and then that will be the full retail price. I don't know when this product is going to be on my website yet, but it is definitely going to be on there, so if you want to buy one of these tutus, keep your eye out and head over to my website when it goes live, lillianhopedesigns.co.uk. I honestly love making these tutus, and I already have plans to make my 3rd or 4th tutu now. But without further ado, on to the reveal of the full made practice tutu.